Hi everyone, welcome back to A Peaceful Pursuit. I just wanted to do a little kind of chit chat video today. I don't know exactly all of what I'm going to say, but I know kind of the general topic. I wanted to just share my experience coming home with the caveat that I do still have a very part-time virtual assistant job. It's very flexible. I only do about like 8 to 10 hours a week. And actually, hopefully won't have to do that at all eventually. It's been a huge blessing. It's how I was able to come home and start staying home when I had my first child. I wanted to say this at the beginning because the internet has allowed a lot of women to stay home, but still having to do like 8 to 10 hours of work and take care of a child and the home and like just make sure that all the boxes are being checked is still really hard. I just wanted to say that because I don't want to be like, oh, I'm a full-time homemaker, but then I work. I just want it to be really clear that I am home full-time, and I have been for a little over 2 years, but I have been working remotely part-time that whole time too, which I think contributes to some of what I'm going to talk about. I did a video a while back. I actually don't even know if I kept it up on my channel. I'll have to check, but how I knew I wanted to be a homemaker. And it was way back in like 2017 when I started working at a gym daycare, and a lot of the moms there, actually most of them, were stay-at-home moms, and I just hadn't been exposed to that really. My mom always worked full-time. All of my friends' moms worked, I think maybe with the exception of like 1 or 2. I don't really remember. I feel like most of them worked, or at least they were like work while the kids were at school, and then they would pick them up and then be home for like the rest of the evening, late afternoon, evening. But most of them worked full-time. Like most of my friends were in daycare like me, and that was just normal, and that was just always what I thought that I would do too, even though it was funny because there was really no career that really captured me ever. Like there was just nothing that I was super excited about. Looking back on my life and even as a child and stuff, it makes perfect sense. Like I've always wanted to be a homemaker. I just didn't know that people still did that. So when I was exposed to that, kind of put an inkling in me like that's what I want to do, but I just never believed it would be possible. Because in this day and age, it is definitely true that it's harder to stay home, which is why I found the remote job, and I thought, well, I'll just do this. Like, you know, it'll be great. And it has been in many ways. It's a huge blessing. One thing that I was so unprepared for in coming home, even with having that part-time job, was the undoing of myself. And maybe some of it has to do with motherhood. I think some of it has to do with becoming a mom and just having to take care of another person all the time. So I think some of it would have still happened because you do kind of have to undo yourself when you become a parent. The mental state of coming home and being like, this is my job now. I remember the first few, like once I got past like the maternity leave time, and you know, it was kind of around that time that most moms go back to work. I remember thinking, I don't know how they're going back to work full time. And granted, I was taking care of my baby all the time, whereas when you go to work, like you leave your baby somewhere else to be taken care of. So I had that on top of it too, but I just remember thinking like, wow, I don't know how people can do this. And yet at the same time, it was so weird because every time my baby would go down for a nap, that's like when I would do some of my online work. I would do some with him awake too when he was littler, but I mostly tried to do it when he would sleep, which is still how I do it now for the most part. And I remember feeling when I would start working, like actually trading my time for money, like I would literally feel better in a way. And maybe some of it has to do with just like your brain checking things off the list type of a thing. But I also think it has to do, or had to do, with feeling really incompetent in my role as a new mom, which that would have happened either way because becoming a parent is hard. But as a homemaker, like I just felt like I can't figure this out. It's so repetitive, it's so hard. And then I felt silly for thinking that it was hard because I'm like, it's just doing the dishes, it's just cooking, it's just throwing a load of laundry in. Like none of it is hard tasks. Like you don't really have to use your brain that much to throw a load of laundry in. And so then I would feel silly for thinking that it felt so hard and feeling like it felt so hard. So then I would feel better when I would do my work because I feel like that was something I was competent at. But I feel like that dilemma for women, because I have heard so many women say like, oh, like I would love to be with my kid all day, but I just don't think I could do it. And I think it's that dilemma of feeling incompetent in the homemaker role versus going to a job where you feel like you can accomplish things quicker. It feels better. I don't know. This is just my experience. So that's what I want to talk about. And I do also want to say with a caveat, just because I'm sharing this, it's not a statement on anybody else's experience. It's just my experience. And I know that there are other women that relate to it because I know I have a friend who has shared some of this. I know my sister has been in a similar boat. She doesn't have kids yet, but we've talked about some of this. So I know that there are people that do, but if you don't, that's totally okay. I just want to share my experience. So I also wanted to do it at this time because although I don't feel like I've arrived, I do feel like I'm out of, finally, the 2-year-long season of honestly just like not doing well, not thriving personally, and none of it had anything to do with anything outside of me. Like it was all the undoing of me. So I remember telling one of my friends recently that I didn't feel like I had a good day unless I felt super stressed all day. Like I didn't know how to stop and start my work without just basically feeling that stress of like, oh my gosh, I'm accomplishing this, I'm doing this, and like never sitting down, basically in fight or flight all the time. And if I didn't get into fight or flight, I didn't think I had a good day, even though I still could have done 6 things around the house alongside taking care of a child full time and spending 1 to 3 hours a day actually making money too. Because something I have really learned and internalized is that working doesn't always mean making money. And it did for me before. So I feel like I'm on the other side of that now, but it literally took a good 2 years. And it was repetitive because I would feel like, okay, I'm doing better. But then I would just get back into that go, go, go. I wouldn't know how to rest. I wouldn't know when to stop. And it just seemed like God just kept allowing it. I don't like saying it this way because I don't like when people say like, oh, God just teaches you a lesson, because he's not like that. He's been gentle with me this whole time, but I wasn't learning. So there's still some truth to that. Like he was allowing it because I wasn't getting it. And it took me a long time. And the reason I say I haven't arrived is because I have to actually practice this every single day. Like I have to be disciplined to not rush around. I have to be disciplined to be like, we're not going to do any more work this afternoon. We're just going to sit and be together. We're going to go for a slow walk, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm not going to feel bad. My house is picked up. I did a load of laundry. The dishes are done. Dinner is prepared or planned. Like I know what I'm making. The meat is thawed. Like I'm not going to go beyond that. And it took me a long, long, long time to be okay with that, because I just felt like, especially when I was doing the things that weren't making money, like, well, if I'm not making money, then I have to feel super stressed out to justify not making money, which is just so silly. Like, where does this come from? I don't know if well, like I said, I know other people relate to this because first of all, I see it a lot online. There's a lot of women that have had to undo this like over-functioning, overworking type of mentality. And then I also know a couple people in my life who have talked about it too. But other than that, it seems like a lot of people are just doing that, and maybe they're fine. I don't know. I don't know everybody, obviously, but yeah, that was not fine for me. And I realized that I was living my life like that all the way up till having my baby. And I do think the hormones amplified it, but I still felt like that before even getting pregnant, just on a smaller scale. And it was easy because I would just do that all week. Like I would go to work all week, exhaust myself completely, but then every weekend I could sleep for 10 hours. And I did. Every Friday and Saturday night before having a baby, I would sleep for like 10 hours. But when you have kids, like that just isn't always possible. We do sleep in, you know, during the week, once or twice a week when it's a day that my husband doesn't work or whatever. But yeah, kids don't sleep until 9 a.m. Like they don't do that. And if they do, then it just kind of screws everything else up. So that's why I say, like, I know the hormones were affecting me, but I also know that all of it had to happen because there's a lot of undoing that I had to do. And I have wanted to live a slower, simple life. Like, that is what I want to share on here. That is why I named my channel A Peaceful Pursuit. I've been on this peaceful pursuit since I changed my channel to that name. And it has been a journey since then. It just really amplified when I had a child, which I think makes sense because having kids really makes you think about your own habits, think about your own life. It really puts things into perspective. And so I'm very thankful for all of it. I don't want to go back to a lot of it because it was really, really hard mentally. And because I was always in fight or flight and feeling like I had to feel stressed out in order to have worth, honestly, to be valid at what I was doing, that made me physically sick. And so I spent a long time like not feeling well at all, and went to the doctor a few times. You know, they test for a bunch of stuff, like, I don't know, just things aren't really found. And yeah, it just ended up being honestly like a me problem. And the hard part is when you feel so bad, it's so easy to be in that victim mindset, and I hate that. Like, I don't want to be in that victim mindset. That's something that I realized. I'm like, you really can tolerate a lot, but you don't have to be a victim of it. Like, just because something is hard doesn't mean it's bad, and you can face it and feel well doing it. I don't know if that really makes a lot of sense, but it's so hard though when you're not feeling well physically or mentally or emotionally to get out of that. So I really do feel for people that like continually struggle with things, but it's also like, I don't know, there is a way out. But I will say the way out came when I just completely surrendered and was like, okay, you know what? I realized that I can't work that many hours a week in addition to being a homemaker. And I realized my worth in the home is not replaceable. Like, that's me being here is not replaceable. Like, you could hire it out, but again, then you'd be paying somebody. It's not your heart in your home tending to the humans, the animals, and the space that you've been given, and to have that reflect you and your heart. You can't replace that. And so even though I say I haven't arrived and I still have to practice this stuff every day, I have to tell myself these things every day, because the enemy just comes in and like will just attack it. And I'm like, nope, you're not doing that anymore. I know my worth in this home, and I know that I can be successful at it. And it's hard, and I don't even feel silly saying it's hard anymore, because it is hard to keep a home. If you do it well, it's hard. If you get up in the morning and treat it like a job and you're diligent about it and you keep a clean home, and I mean reasonably, when you have toddlers, like, there's gonna be toy messes and stuff, but you keep a reasonably clean home, you work at keeping it decluttered, you keep it organized, you think about different areas that aren't working and how you can make them work. You are budgeting, you are cooking from scratch, you are thinking of savvy ways to, like, relating to the making an area work in your home. Like, what's a savvy or thrifty way that you can do that? Because probably your budget isn't huge because you're staying home, unless your husband makes a million figures, which is not most people's husbands. So it requires a lot of executive functioning. And the thing is, I think so many women, like, that's so hard. Even though you do that at your job too, it's so funny that, like, it's weird how we've disconnected this. And I did that too, but you do that at your job, but if you applied that to your home, it would be so much better. And then you find yourself actually like enjoying it, and you're like, wow, I'm actually accomplishing things. Like, I feel really good, and I take pride, like the good kind of pride, not the not the bad kind of pride, but like taking good pride in a job well done, for taking care of your home and keeping it clean and making a beautiful, cozy environment for your family to enjoy. Those things are good and right to take pride in. And I just don't believe anymore that they're not. And I still have days, obviously, we all do, but it feels so wonderful, and I just give God all the glory for bringing me to that point to be able to say that and to be confident in it, and to be able to say to my husband, like, you know, at some point I don't think I'm going to be able to work at all. Like, and what I mean by that is more so like relying on me for income. I think women absolutely can, and maybe even should, make money. And especially in our day and age, it's so easy online. There's so many opportunities. But switching from that, like the burden of providing, to just resting and allowing yourself to be taken care of, is so freeing and healing. And I don't know how to describe it any other way. And it's not without wisdom, it's not without hard work, it's not without being wise with your finances and in your communication with your spouse and everything, but it's a different kind of energy that you bring to the table, and it changes how you go about your job in the home. And obviously it has made me feel well again, which is a huge gift. I will not take my health for granted. I don't know, it's so important, and I've realized so much the importance of what we are eating, how we are thinking, how we are spending our time. And I just want to live a beautiful, simple, slow life. But I realize that that is so hard mentally, because I actually think it's easier until it's not to rush around, to sit on your phone when you feel bad, like because you don't have any energy to do anything else. It's easier to do that until it's not, like until it's really bad. So yeah, it's simple living and slow living, and being willing to slow down is a hard thing mentally, but then I think there is an ease that comes with that life, because now there's days where all morning, you know, we're outside, like we'll do a couple things and then we're outside, and I'm like, wow, this is like quote unquote so easy. Like it's so wonderful, it's such a gift, but the effort and the anguish that I had to go through to get to that point was so hard. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I just wanted to share that, and I hope that somebody watching can relate. I know, like I said, I have a couple people in my life that I know can, and I know that online there's so many women talking about this, but it's hard. And I'm thankful to be where I'm at, and I just wanted to share that it does get better, and homemaking is hard. I'm sure there will be more hard seasons, but it's hard work, and I don't think that it's silly to say that, because if you want to do it well, anything that you want to do well, anything that's worth doing is going to have an element of hard to it. But hard doesn't mean bad, although for me for a while it kind of did, because I wasn't feeling well. But now I'm at a point where I know what I need to do to live well and to feel well, and I know that I can trust God that if there's something that's still off that I need to change and repent and change my mind, that He will let me know. So I just wanted to share that. I hope that it is encouraging to you. I hope that it makes sense. I feel like my thoughts are kind of all over the place, but if you like hearing me talk about this kind of stuff, or homemaking videos or anything like that, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, and I will see you in my next video.